So welcome and to the afternoon segment. This is such an amazing day. So we'll quickly introduce ourselves, and then we have a number of activities and things that we're going to be doing with you all around transitioning and your rights once you turn 18. So why don't we just introduce you?
So my name is Alex. I'm a placement student at Community in Toronto. I'm doing my master's in social work at Ryerson right now.
We'll hear more from him in a minute.
Hi everyone, my name is Fahima. I'm a social work student, bachelor's of social work in my 4th year at Ryerson as well, and doing my placement with Petra, who's my supervisor at Community Living Toronto.
So we have all the anti-oppression students with us. And can I see that mic works and introduce yourself?
My name is Sarah.
Sarah's the main part of our presentation today, and you're going to be learning a whole lot about her in a few moments. And Petra?
Background, Community Living Toronto planner. Get the students to do all the work, right? There you go.
Petra has been instrumental in helping us with all of this. So we're going to start off with a little activity. And you'll notice Sarah's got 3 pieces of paper. Take a look in the middle of your desks, and you'll see that you've got all these colorful pieces of paper. So we invite all of you to get 3 each. And if you don't have them, we have 1. They got Alex, make sure. So everybody got 3 pieces of paper? 3 different colors if you can. Whatever you got. That's excellent. Everyone's got 3 pieces? Great. And I didn't introduce myself, so I also work with these amazing people. My name is Sue Hutton, and I'm a social worker. I'm today really happy to be wearing my hat as a social worker at Arch Disability Law Center. I have been working at Community Living Toronto for about 20 years. Everybody knows I normally say I started when I was 3. But I've been wearing the hat at Community Living Toronto of human rights work, doing staff training with our staff at Community Living Toronto, and also developing curriculum for people with intellectual disabilities to learn about their human rights. And I've been doing a lot of engagement with Arch Disability Law. Are people familiar? Can you put your hand up if you know Arch? Great, so you're going to get goodie bags. They're coming around. You'll find that there's little packages of information. Arch is a specialty legal aid clinic that specializes in rights with disabilities. And because I kept bugging them to come and do human rights training with our staff and our people receiving services in accessible, plain language ways to learn about their legal rights, they finally said, Sue, why don't we second you? So I'm over there 2 days a week, and it's been really exciting to do this legal work with people who really care about developmental services in the law. Can I just get a sense? So we were talking earlier about who's in the room. How many of you work in developmental services? Can you put your hand up? And how many of you work for children's aid services? Seriously? We wanted to talk to Children's Aid today, didn't we? And how many of you work in mental health services? Yep. A lot of crossover too. I mean, it all means we're all in the same pool, right? And healthcare? Medical? Yeah. Yeah, and we all cross it. We're all in the same huge swimming pool, right? So what we'd like to start off, so with these 3 pieces of paper, can you just take a moment, think about a time of transition in your life. So either the time that you first move out from home, the time that you left something huge and went into something else huge, major transition. So a big time of change in your life. Write down the 3 most important things to you, so each one on a separate piece of paper. So at that time of transition, what was really important for you to get you through that change? Sorry? To get you through the change. To get you through the change. What helped? What was something you could hang on to? So for some people, it's family support. For some people, it's a pet. For some people, it's to have the music that's really important to them. For some people, it's their dishes, or it's the color of the walls. When you move in somewhere, you paint your walls a certain color. What are the 3 most important things getting you through transition? For some people, it might even be making sure that they have a cup of coffee, right? If you're going to a new job, going to some kind of new setting, whatever it is. And the reason we have multi-colored paper is because it's going to be unique and different for everyone. Okay, most people have it written down. So Sarah and I are going to demonstrate something. So if you, Sarah, come on up and hold them up like a deck of cards. This is what we want you to do with someone beside you. So she's holding up the 3 things, doing the most important things to her in a time of transition. And I am going to remove one and put it down. So turn to the person beside you, hold it up like a deck of cards, just like Sarah did. Ask the person beside you to randomly remove one thing and put it face down on the table.
Okay.
So if you look at Sarah, Sarah's now demonstrating. She only has 2 things left. Okay? She only has 2 things now. One has been taken away. Everybody got that?
Yeah, I did one more. You only have 2.
Take one, right? Take one, right? Take one.
What? Yeah.
Okay, so we want you to just call out. Could we get, say, 3 people to share what was just taken away from you? Who would like to share with us? What was taken away? Melanie?
Really loud.
Got it. Okay, slightly. Yeah. Okay, exactly. So family, right? Absolutely huge. Having your family taken away from you at a time of transition. We're going to talk a little bit about that today. Very emotional, very painful, right? And it's your right to be connected with people that you love, right? I think Jen wants to share what she had taken away.
Oh, hi, I'm Cicely. Exercise.
Exercise, excellent. So that's very important to you, just to stay on track and doing whatever you need to do, right? So there's another thing, you just had that removed from you. So imagining that you're transitioning, imagine that you don't have the ability to choose, to maintain, to be involved in planning how your transition's going to go. All those things, and see the different colors of paper represent the uniqueness. It's going to be different. So for everyone to be supported through transition, we really have to wrap ourselves around their individuality, right? One more. What else was taken away? Jen's got someone over here.
Yeah, financial security.
Your financial security. Well, we're going to talk a whole lot about that. So again, all of those things are things that you have the right to maintain. We're going to be talking a bit about the human rights related to all of those things. So thank you. Great. Then we'll go to the next one. Petra, would you possibly stand here and do some of this? Great. So Fahima's going to jump in.
Okay, so going off on what Sue was basically saying, sadly many persons with intellectual disabilities aren't able to exercise their rights on an equal level as many of the rest of us in society, and that's partly because people don't know that legally under the law, regardless of whether or not you have a disability, if you are an adult, we all have the same rights. All adults have the same rights. But I believe Sue will talk more about legislation later on. So yeah, next slide.
Okay, so I think we have a lot of people from developmental services in the room, so you all know that the ministry has a requirement. Oh, by the way, do we have any ministry people in the room? Okay, shoot, all the people we really wanted to talk to didn't show up. That's okay. We want to talk to you more anyway. We just wanted to rub a couple things in for them. But so does everybody know that it's a ministry requirement that human rights training is provided to all staff delivering developmental services, and also for all people with intellectual disability receiving services? Okay. Next slide. Okay.
Okay, so during my placement, I've been lucky enough to have Petra as my supervisor. Petra is the family support coordinator for planning, as she said. So during my placement, I've gotten kind of an in-depth understanding of what person-directed planning is. So for those of you who aren't too familiar with what person-directed planning is, it's basically a way for people to identify their vision for their life, their goals, ways to achieve those goals, and who can support them in achieving those goals, so their friends, family, basically whoever of their choosing. So before we start a plan, we always actually go over the life planning principles, and as you can see, the third one there is individual rights. So basically, the next slide. So this is Community Living Toronto's Bill of Rights. So the people we support at Community Living Toronto identified 10 rights that were most important to them. So with their help, and the artist was Emmanuel Chassis. He drew the amazing drawings over here. So basically, with their support, we were able to identify 10 of the rights that were most important to the people we support, and we always go over these rights in a person-directed planning meeting. So I'm just going to read it really quickly. So it says, I have the right to be in relationships and be alone when I want to be safe, be who I am, the best possible health, education and job training, make informed choices, participate in my community the way I choose, spend money the way I choose how I spend my free time, decide where I live and who I live with. So basically, during a life planning meeting, these rights kind of get more personalized and individualized to meet the person's specific needs. So we talk about like specific aspects that are most important to them. So for example, if education is a really important thing for that person, then we make sure during the planning meeting we emphasize their right to education. So a huge aspect of person-directed planning is making sure that we're acknowledging and respecting the person's rights. If the person is able to, we ask them to read these rights, because the rights aren't just for them to know, it's for everyone at the meeting to know and to respect and accept. I think that's all from me. If you have anything to add, Petra?
And person-directed planning is another service that's required for everybody in service.
Okay, so are there laws that protect people with intellectual disabilities? Question? Yes, I was just writing it. Yeah, so there's a lot of laws. The interesting thing is, we're talking about laws, we're talking about, and you'll see when Sarah and I are doing our piece later, we're going to talk a little bit about the laws around child welfare, and Sarah's going to talk about whether or not it actually, the fact that there's laws translated into the services that she received, right? I think probably is everyone familiar with the bulk of these? The UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities, Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, Human Rights Code, the AODA, Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act, and then I think that this is the funniest acronym, SIPIDA, right? Social Inclusion Act. And then the quality assurance measures. So these are all laws that require that staff and agencies delivering services are upholding rights. And there's a whole number of requirements that we have under the law. So next, and but the big takeaway of all of this, when transitioning into, and I think people know a lot about this, we're just covering the basics, and then we're going to go into it more with Sarah. But in Ontario, all adults considered mentally capable of making decisions unless there's clear evidence to the contrary, right? So a person who's 18 or over, presumed capable of decision making, and then 16 or over, a person's presumed capable of making decisions regarding their health care, okay? So the law guarantees all necessary rights for all Ontarians. However, in reality, these laws do not provide the unique protections missing within the developmental services sector. This is why, again, I'm really excited to be working with Arch, where we're doing a little bit of work looking at changing some of this. So we've been doing legal rights training. We realized that the legal rights training, or rights training in general, we didn't really know how much of a difference it was making. So we started looking around the province. How much is rights training really making a difference for people? And we're not really seeing a lot of evidence that's showing that it's making a lot of difference. So we started a couple of new projects. I started bringing in the lawyers from Arch to do role plays and to do accessible legal rights education. And that's sort of where the partnership formed. Part of the reason I got seconded over there is how do you really make things accessible to teach someone with intellectual disabilities about their rights and helping them uphold their rights. So we have this new province-wide initiative called Respecting Rights. It's brand new, in which we do presentations and workshops. We've just started on legal rights, and we do this with a lawyer, a person with an intellectual disability, and we're doing these presentations for staff, for family members, and also for people with intellectual disability. My contact info is in there if you're interested in having a presentation where you are with a lawyer, a person with an intellectual disability, and support coming out. We'd love to come and talk about rights with you. Okay, let's talk about parents. Can you go back one? That's okay. So, what's that? Well, it's necessary, right? Darth Vader. But often, how many people find that when you're dealing with an adult with an intellectual disability over the age of 18, so you know that they have the right to make their own decisions, how many of you have a little bit of a challenge sometime working with families, where families seem to be, put your hand up if you've ever had a challenge with a family member, sort of, yeah, people waving their arms, oh yeah, right? And so the dance becomes, how do we support the family, right? How do we support the family? Because if we go to the next one, we started realizing, okay, this is the $1 million question. It's feedbacking. There's a verb, I like that. Thanks, Megan. So we realized, okay, let's start talking to families about this, because we're all dancing around where people say, well, I've got to call the mom or dad and find out if they give consent for Peter to go to the, it's like, no, Peter's over the age of 18. He's decision-making adults. So we don't need to be consulting with the family. We did focus groups and interviews with family members, with 74 family members in total. And the family members were identifying they're scared, that they're worried about their son or daughter running into a vulnerable situation, right? So we thought, okay, so we got to support and validate, but the important piece, keeping our eye on the prize. Who's the person who's in the center of the picture? It's the person with the disability. Family members were asking if they could have some legal education. They said they wanted to learn about the law and what does that mean in regards to being a parent to someone with an intellectual disability. I love this. Whose voice is it anyway, right? That Jen Altazar may have come up with that. Did you? I think Rob, the executive director at Arch, said, did that come from you? The term, whose voice is it? For there's
I own it, but I don't know for sure.
She's not going to own it. But there was a capacity and consent workshop that the executive director at Arch did all around the rights of the person with an intellectual disability. And it was called Whose Voice Is It? But really needing to validate, support families while we educate about rights in the law. As agency staff, we must follow the law in upholding people's individual rights, right? So it's, like I said, it's a dance of supporting the family while keeping our eye on the prize. It's the person's right to make decisions, and the law tells us that we're supposed to support that person's decisions. Alex is going to talk a little bit about some new research.
Can everyone hear me if I speak like this? Even in the back? It's always like restricts me. I feel like I'm like, you have to talk like this. I don't like it. So, I'm going to be talking about a recent study, a study of experience of immigrant youth with disability living in the Greater Toronto Area. So it's right here at home by an awesome researcher called Siobhan Niles. Next slide, please. And what is being explored? So, number one, the story of immigrant youth with disabilities. Number two, the gap in services for immigrant youth with disabilities. And number three, intersectionality of race and disability. Does anyone here know what intersectionality means? Anyone want to explain it, or do I have to do all the work here? Yeah, I'll take that as I gotta do the work here. So, intersectionality is looking at intersecting forms of oppression. For example, race and disability, class and gender, race and gender, a whole myriad of experiences. And what's important about intersectionality is that no one case is the same. We have to remember that the people we are working with are unique. And it also takes us to remember we have to put in extra effort because they are unique. We cannot use almost like a factory line approach to working with people because they are people. We shouldn't be here if we're doing that. Anyways, back to the main point. So what we will find in this study, the studies about youth generally are not with youth, they're about youth. So this study is actually taking in the voices of youth and actually having to hear what they're saying, which is fantastic, about time. And also, disabled immigrant youth are missing in research. We've been talking about disability here, but we haven't really been addressing the issue of race. We haven't been addressing the issue of even of status. It's a whole different ballgame if someone doesn't have status. Next, services and support are available for Katie. I just said this. A lack of understanding of how to deal with racialized immigrant youth in the disability sector, and a lack of understanding of how to deal with disability in the settlement sector. We have two different sectors here that have not worked together. For some reason, we're trying to work with people, work with a unique environment, but somehow we're isolating and we're isolating ourselves from one another. If we're in this together, we might as well be in this all together. We shouldn't be having this, we should make contact with other kinds of agencies. If we're working with disabled youth who have to be racialized, we should speak with agencies that work with racialized folks. That is a conversation that needs to happen. What else we got? So, just to wrap it up, because I don't have too much time and I tend to go on tangents, is some of the benefits of this study. The study will also make an original contribution to immigrant youth literature by addressing underrepresented subgroups, and will build on frameworks of critical disability and critical race theory. This study is important now, more than ever, as our understanding of disability continues to evolve. Just being here, I've learned so much. We're constantly evolving in our understanding. Now, let's not be linear in that understanding. Let's make sure we understand that what we're learning about here is about circumstance. It will always change. There's never one answer. And you all know that. This project challenges the deficit, thinking about disability, and offers us another way to imagine disability and to see people with disabilities as producers of knowledge. Let's not forget that we're working with people who can think and who can contribute. We cannot paternalize the folks we're working with. So at the same time, when we're learning here how to work with people, we cannot forget at the same time we have to learn from them as much as we're learning from each other. All right.
Okay, next up, this is the debut of a couple of videos with Sarah. I'll come over here and get these. So we're going to watch a couple of videos that we have developed with Arch Disability Law, and yeah, we'll let you guys watch, and then we're going to discuss them afterwards. Okay? So these are videos that are educational videos for people with intellectual disabilities to learn about their rights after they turn 18. What are their legal rights? So we will watch the first one.
I'm a lawyer with Arch Disability Law Center. This video is the second in a series of videos that deal with rights we all have as people. This video deals with your rights to make your own decisions about your life. Krista is 24 years old. She lives in a group home and has lots of independence. She loves singing karaoke more than anything else.
Of course, Miss is saying, yes, no, I agree that going to karaoke that late is too late. So I will make sure that Krista stays in at 8 o'clock and that she is in bed by 9. Sure. Yep. Oh, you're welcome. Okay. Take care. Bye-bye.
Were you just talking to my mom?
Actually, I was, yes. She and I were just discussing your karaoke plans tonight, and she feels as though maybe you should stay in.
Why is my mom always in my personal stuff? I can't do anything I want here.
You know, your mom's just, she cares about you, and she just wants to see you safe, as do I and the rest of the staff in the group home. So we think that it would be best if you stay in and don't go to karaoke, and then maybe if you can stay in from 8 and then be in bed by 9, you know, because that's the best option for you. We know what's best for you, and we think that you should stay in.
But I was planning to go to karaoke. Today is Michael Jackson Day. Why can I not go?
Well, because, you know, it gets late, it's darker now, it's not safe, and we know what's best for you. We know how to keep you safe, and, you know, it's just not a good day to go. So, actually, I have to go do some laundry, but maybe we can have this discussion later and see, you know, if we can maybe figure out something for next week, all right?
That's not fair.
I'm sorry, it's your mom's choice, not ours.
Oh my God.
Okay, Krista, I'll talk to you.
Hey, Krista. I was just overhearing your conversation.
That staff doesn't let me do anything.
You know what?
She told me I can't go karaoke. I had to be in bed. I had to be in here until 8 and then go to bed at 9. What kind of rules is that?
You know what? They tried to pull that one on me, but it didn't work.
Really?
Yeah. You know you have rights.
I do?
Yes, you have rights. But you're also a responsible woman as well too. That you can go out in the community and you can do those things. If you want to go to karaoke and do Michael Jackson, you can go and do it.
Oh my God, we can go together if that's so, you know.
We could. I do have a pamphlet here that shows you your rights and responsibilities.
When you are an adult, you have the right to make your own decisions, just like Krista did wanting to go to karaoke night. Your staff and family need to remember your right to make choices comes first. Even if there is a formal legal document saying that someone else makes decisions for you, your choices still need to be respected. If you live in Ontario and want to learn more about your rights to make your own decisions, you can call Arch for free legal advice.
Just asking Sarah if she wants to talk about what it was like to be in that one.
It was very interesting.
Sarah's a natural actress. That was Sarah's debut. So, and by the way, Jessica's sitting in the back of the room, the main staff. Jessica, can you wave so everyone knows? She's not really mean, right, Sarah?
No, she's really not.
So it was a hard role, right? So we're going to watch one more of these. Here's another one. And then we'll talk a bit about this video series. These two are the first two around your basic rights. So as we said, we looked at some of the laws. So the law says that you are presumed capable of making your own decisions at the age of 18. So both of the actors in here have the right to make their own decisions, and people should not be intervening and getting them to do other things. They have the right? At the age of 16, again, you have the right to make decisions regarding healthcare. We have other videos we're working on in regards to public guardian and trustee, your rights when you're a public guardian and trustee, your rights regarding power of attorney. So those ones will be coming. All these videos, by the way, are posted on our Arch website. So the pamphlets that you've received with Arch, go to the website there and you'll see these videos are posted. Sarah is going to be famous. Already circulating. So here's the second one.
Hi, I'm a lawyer with Arch Disability Law Center. This video is the first in a series of videos that deal with rights we all have as people. This one deals with your right to make decisions about your money. Sophie is 20 years old and recently started receiving services in a supported independent living program. Sophie's having trouble getting her support worker to understand that she's capable to handle her own money.
Okay, Sophie, so I've taken out your weekly spending money. You've got money for groceries, you've got money for spending, and you've got money for laundry. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you $2 for now so you can buy a coffee, okay? I'm going to hold on to the rest of it until we go grocery shopping on Thursday. Oh, hold on, I need to take this, but I'll see you on Thursday, all right? Have a great day, bye.
Hey, how's it going? I'm good. You look so sad. You look like you're in the dumps.
I am. Thank you for the coffee, by the way.
Oh, you're welcome.
I only have $2 until Thursday. It's all my worker gave me for the week.
That's not fair.
No, I know.
Oh my, you have the legal right to make a decision about using your own money. Your worker cannot control your money.
Yeah, she's been controlling my money. She's been making meal plans for me, budgeting for me, a bunch of things. I don't know what to do.
You know what? I have an idea. There's like a legal clinic right behind the corner. Do you want to go and see a lawyer about your rights? Because you're over the age of 18 and you have every right to make your decision.
You know what? I didn't know that. I would love to go.
Okay, let's go.
Okay.
Yeah, man, I'm here for you now.
All right, buddy.
All right.
When you turn 18, you have the right to make your own decisions, including decisions about your own money. And when you turn 16, you also have the right to make your own decisions about healthcare. In some situations, this might be a little different. Watch the other videos in this series to learn more about that. If you live in Ontario and want to learn more about your rights to make your own decisions, you can call Arch for free legal advice.
Round of applause for Sarah. Yes, question, please.
I just want to make sure it was okay to ask questions at this point. I understand that over the age of 18 they have these rights. I support it 100%. However, when you're in a situation where you have, let's say, the individual has a right to spend their money how they choose, but they do it, let's say they spend it on drugs, foregoing their rental or food expenses, and you try to educate them on that piece. Like, where do you kind of work that line? I mean, for us, we have that knowledge they have the right to spend it as they see fit, but when they spend it and they have nothing for food or rent or their internet or, if they want to go visit their parents out of province, it's not about controlling money per se, but if the individual knows how to budget, I think that's definitely not a concern. But when they don't have that sense of budgeting, there is that sort of line where you do want to help them in terms of caring for the money. So.
Perfect question. Thank you so much. I'm going to put it out to the room, and we're going to talk about that a little tiny bit. Can I put it out to the room? Has anybody, I've certainly, when I did frontline case management, dealt with many folks who made interesting decisions regarding drugs, regarding alcohol, regarding you name it, right? Has anybody here ever supported someone who's made a interesting decision with their money that you wouldn't have made that choice? Yeah. How many people here have ever made a interesting decision about their own money? Right? What's that? Thank you, John, the dignity of risk. And John just yelled it out right there, dignity of risk. So you said it. It's a very interesting challenge supporting people. Again, I really should have a worker for myself handling my money because I make a lot of interesting decisions about money. But it's a balance because legally the person has the right to decision make. They also require support to be educated around budgeting, right? Even when somebody, how many people support someone who has public guardian and trustee involved? Right? Yep, quite a few of us. And interestingly, a lot of people don't know that there is a whole set of requirements, right, for the person who is the trustee. If there's a power of attorney, there's a whole set of legal requirements. And we actually are doing another video in this series on that issue. But the person always has the right to decision make and to be involved in decision making, even if if there's been a capacity assessment and someone else has a piece of paper says that they're making those decisions. The person still needs to be involved in that process, all the way through. So I'm with you. It's a very challenging thing. And there's creative ways. Does anybody in the room have a creative way they've supported someone who's blowing their cash on some interesting choices and who can support? I mean, I've had to do there's various ways of supporting someone to make sure the rent gets paid. John's going to call it. Can we get a mic for John?
No, I'll just the basic one for rent is getting agreement with the person supporting that. Why don't you get ODST just to rent?
Yeah, and what John's saying, I think everyone's nodding in the room, right? You help the person make the decision. You're like, I know that you're going to be tempted to do this, that, and the other through the month. Why don't we, work with ODSP and we get direct payment going, right? So we can do direct payment with a whole lot of things if the person's willing to agree to that. And John named it, it's dignity of risk. We have another question over here. Dignity of risk, right? So, yeah, we'll take another question, then we're going to continue because we have a whole lot of, okay, one more. So we're going to take two more and then we're going to continue so that we can show you all the exciting things that are happening.
We work a lot with clients we call APSWs, or adults who live on their own, and often we're faced with these kinds of issues with our clients. But what I notice is, and it's just like the rest of us, when we make those decisions, they're usually impulsive decisions, and once it's made and it's done, you can't really do much. But often you can have a time when you allow the client to reflect back on that moment and then set a plan to try and avoid that from happening again. So, because we all do that. I mean, we all, I'm on a budget, I go to the store, I see something I like, and I'm like, oh, screw the budget, I'm going to buy it, right?
And you haven't had you haven't had a capacity assessment?
Not yet.
No, I know, but thank you, exactly, yeah. One more comment and then we're going to keep going. Absolutely.
So with regard to the first video, when the woman was saying, it's my right to go out, it's my right to go to karaoke, I have two clients that I deal with who are quite tough. They're both deaf with developmental delays. One has a vision loss, very high functioning out in the community, and he always says, it's my right to go out, it's my right. However, the problem with that is that their mother doesn't want them traveling alone. And we don't have intervener service. Oh, sorry, that was the interpreter. We have intervener services for them, which I encourage them to use when they go out. However, they know that they have the right to go out alone, so they don't want to rely on those intervener services when they go out. So I asked them, do you have money to go out? Have you budgeted money for whatever it is that you want to do? And at this point they realize they don't have the money. So anyway, we have a list and we have plans. Like, we have made up a schedule of things that they can do during the week, things they can do on the weekend. We've decided on a time for them to go out, a time for them to be back, how much money they're bringing with them. So it's a very regimented plan that we've made for them so that there is enough money to do exactly what they want to do when they're out, and there's going to be no issues popping up when they're out. Because, if they're out and about and they've run out of money and then they end up asking other people for money, we don't want to put them in that position, so we ensure that they have enough money to go out. So the point is that respecting their rights, keeping in mind what the mother has said as well, but we have to respect their rights, and so what we do is we ensure that we set them up with a plan for their success when they go out. so that they're not out and about and then, not being able to afford anything.
Yeah, no, I think is everybody relating to this comment, right? We've all sort of been there. If you don't mind, I would love to insert, what's the name, the question, what's your name? Who asked the question?
I'm James.
James, excellent. Can we connect after? Because I want to make sure we get to the bulk of our presentation, which is Sarah. I'd love to talk more about this because it's a dance. I always say that in developmental services, we work harder than any other sector that there is. The executive director, Rob Latanzio at Arch, he said sometimes some of the other lawyers out in the world think that developmental services and the law is easier, but he says it's the hardest area of the law because we have to work that much harder around supporting people with all the unique complexities to uphold their rights. So thank you. So James, we'll connect after, okay? Appreciate it. So just to continue to move along, in the packages that you have here, are people, can you put your hand up, are you familiar with the Provincial Advocate? It's so legal services for children. How many people here support people under the age of 18? Okay, a few of us in the room. Most of us are over the age of 18 that we're providing support. So just a quick little talk. So we're going to be talking, I'm going to talk a little bit about the law and rights around foster care and transitioning out of foster care. So this is people who grew up in children's aid, child welfare, and transitioned into developmental services. And Sarah's going to be sharing her story with us. But just to talk a little tiny bit about the back of that. So it was interesting earlier today we were talking about, there were some questions about the right. How old are people again when they're decision making? So 18 we generally talk about. But, and Sarah will talk more about this because she's lived through this transition. But there was a document that came out in 2013 that's called 25 is the new 21. And there was research that was done with youth where youth came out and talked about their experience of transitioning from child welfare into the real world, right out into developmental services or wherever they were going, and it was not a good transition. So the Provincial Advocate got involved and took their stories and took it up to legislature, took it to the ministry, and they keep extending the age, right, because they realized it's not fair dumping kids at age 18. So then they extended that to 21, and then just in 2013 they extended that to 25, where they call this extended care maintenance. Yes, and I mean, it's like fundamental. The report talks about the need for fundamental change in the system, and Sarah's going to talk a little bit more about that. So change is a process, not an event, right? It's not something that just happens instantly. I think this image, Sarah and I looked at this picture and Sarah said, speaks a million words. All I did was turn 18, right? So this is somebody leaving child services, and all of a sudden, boom, you're out in the world. So a little tiny bit more again. So the interesting thing, Sarah and I were talking about this earlier, we're talking all about rights, talking all about legal rights, and the Provincial Child and Advocate Office. I'm just going to pull out this list here. You guys have it. We've given it to you. But there's this whole office that talks about the rights of the child. So again, right here, if you're 12 or older, you have the right to help make your plan of care. And Sarah, how involved were you in helping make your plan of care?
Not very much involved at all.
Yeah. So we've got documents that say you have the right to do this. There's a whole list. It's these sort of cornflower colored documents. You'll see that there's a whole list of the rights of youth transferring out of care. So Sarah, let's go. Petra or Fahima, would one of you guys handle moving that over? So who's in the picture?
This is my cat. This is Donatello. I have had this guy for almost 3 years now, actually. And he's been a part of my life through the transitioning from foster care system into independent living. Like, he's been there, you know, he's my little pet master. I'm sure if anybody has animals, you're like the parent to the animal, right? Like, same time. Yeah.
Really important, right?
Yeah, he's very important. Keeps me calm and stuff.
And the colors, do you want to talk a bit about the colors in the background? This is you in your new apartment that you have moved into, right? Yeah. You want to talk a bit about how you chose your colors and stuff?
I absolutely love the color green. I have pretty much everything in green, brown, or black in my apartment. Like, green's a very, it's calm color to me. Like, it keeps me relaxed and calm. Yeah.
So when you walk into Sarah's apartment, it's just this stunning color. And I was like, what do they call that? A chartreuse? Remember, I was like, what are they? You're like, I don't know.
I can't remember.
Beautiful green. And so did we talk about that earlier when people were talking about the things in times of transition, what's important to you, right? But so just setting up your place in a way that's really important to you. So then we can go to the next one. So we talked a bit about public guardian and trustee. And do you want to tell a little bit about your experience with public guardian and trustee? So after you left foster care.
Yeah, I got assigned a public guardian trustee with Toronto, and it has been not the greatest experience at all whatsoever. They were supposed to transition like more funding for me when I moved independently, and my money has been decreasing since I've been here. Like, you can't get a hold of them half the time, like at all whatsoever, which is not very fun, because if I wanted per se to go and do something personally and I needed some funding, I can't get a hold of them. So I have to cancel my plans half the time, right? Yeah.
And the other thing, Sarah was over at Arch recently, and we're talking with one of the lawyers there, Luke Reed, who was at Public Guardian Trustee before he came to Arch. And so we sat down, we're chatting with him, and Sarah was saying, you know what, I don't even know how I got on. I don't even know why I was given one. And we started talking, and Luke looked at Sarah and said, I think you can handle your money probably better than I can. That it was just an assumption that was made. Sarah's wishes were not really taken into consideration. There's something called Section 15, where a doctor or psychiatrist comes and sort of does this sort of loose assessment around capacity, and it sounds like that may have happened, right?
Yeah, I had one of the assessments done, and literally they're like, we don't even understand why you need a public guardian trustee at all whatsoever. Like, you're quite capable of taking care of your own money. And yeah, like,
so I'm going to try and work. Sarah's going to look at trying to get off, because you also have the right to appeal and get off public guardian trustee when you're there.
So just a quick question.
Yeah.
Did you know, is Arch, do you think they may look at some of the laws in Ontario that may contravene, basic human rights, like the Developmental Service Act, or other laws that there may be a lot of contradictions with basic human rights?
Yes, yes, and yes. There's some really exciting projects. The committee that I referred to, the Respecting Rights Committee, is looking at some law reform around the Social Inclusion Act. I can't say too much about it right now. Yeah, looking at changing the law, right? Yeah, so connect with me through Arch and we'll help make things better. Yeah, they really want to keep improving services for people with intellectual disabilities, and a lot of that has to do with law reform and looking at, like we're saying, there's all these laws, but why are people still falling through the cracks when it comes to accessing them, like Sarah was saying, right? Okay, and the next one. Okay, want to say a little tiny bit about this?
worst needle in the world.
Worst needle in the world.
That's all I can say about that. I started taking this when I was 14 years old. They told me it would be good for me to take, obviously, because I struggled as a teen. But I did not realize, nor was I told, the side effects of what Depo-Provera can actually do. I stopped taking Depo-Provera when I actually moved here to the city. I did not know that I had a choice not to take it. I thought I had to take it because that's what I was told up until I moved here. Yeah.
So that was another thing that you were just put on it without sort of being consulted with, and so finally, just just recently. got off that, yeah. So it's another one of the things, and we're talking about healthcare and your right to make decisions regarding healthcare, right? It's very controversial. Have people heard of something called the Eve case? We'll talk about on Friday the 11th when I'm here. The Eve case, young woman who, this is back when sterilization was common thing that happened for people in mental institutions. And the Eve case was the very first case, this is way back in the 70s, a young woman who said, I don't want to be sterilized. She had an intellectual disability, she was very capable, she was interested in potentially having a baby one day. And the case went all the way up to the Supreme Court, and it's the first time that someone with an intellectual disability won at the Supreme Court, saying, I do not want to be sterilized, I want to maintain my right to have a child one day if I want. So anyway, it's huge, this issue regarding birth control and decision making. Yeah. Okay, this one, I want to talk about a little tiny bit about this. This is Sarah's couch.
Yes, my couch. These 3 binders are my case files from the Toronto CAS. These files start from 1992. I was born November 6, 1991. So literally a year after I was born, this case was open on my family. And there's a lot of not so nice things in there that are written about me, or just some things that they had done that are not right. Not okay at all whatsoever. Like, I read a lot of this, and they withheld it for me when it actually first came in. It withheld it for me for about almost a year. They didn't want me to see it at all whatsoever because they're afraid what it was going to do to me. But really, honestly, just with the things that I read, I can understand why they held it for me. Just because of like the things that they said about me, like, or about my family, or just experiences and stuff like.
So and those binders are huge. Like Sarah thought, do I want to bring them and show people? No, that'd be way too heavy to bring. So let's take a photo. So there's this beautiful apartment. So it's gorgeous colors and a poster Sarah's going to tell you about in a minute. And these huge binders that basically, again, when you transition out of child welfare, you're left, okay, here's everything that's happened to you. Good luck.
You're allowed to sign paperwork to get it. If not, you don't get it at all. You have to sign the paperwork to actually get it with a parent to school too.
So huge. Okay, let's go to the next one. So from instability to the unknown. So you're going to see some photos from Sarah's life in a minute that she's going to share with you. Instability to the unknown. So going, as Sarah said earlier, she moved, here we are, 18 different homes between 4 years old and 23 years old. 18 different times of moving, and then all of a sudden transitioning to the unknown. So remember back when we started this presentation, you were reflecting on what's important to you at times of transition, and just think about what was there for Sarah, about what's important for Sarah, what was there at your time of transition, right? That's important to you. So do you want to talk a little tiny bit about, because you talked about just this is what you said, that it was extremely stressful, right?
Moving 18 different times, and it's not just foster homes, it's also group homes as well too. It's extremely discouraging because you'll move into a home sometimes and some of the foster parents, like, I think they mean well, but they'll sit there and they'll be like, oh, we're going to be a family, it's going to be fantastic, you're going to be here for a long period of time, and then all of a sudden I have a worker showing up at my school taking me to a new home. It's not the funnest thing at all whatsoever. I eventually literally started cutting off everybody that I was living with in the home school too. I didn't want to talk to them, nor my friends. I have nothing to say to you, I really don't. And it's really unfortunate because some people I should have actually given the chance to, but I just couldn't do it because 18 different placements, it's really not fun. Knowing what it's like to have a family, no, I know the system. I don't know family. I really don't know anything about family at all whatsoever. Like, it's very, very not fun. It's very discouraging. Yeah.
And the resilience and the power and the inspiration and the creativity Sarah brings just shows that you've got powerful resilience in you. Okay, should we, next one? Okay, what's the next one that we got? Okay, right. Want to talk about this?
I am not Sarah Lyttle in the foster care system. I am child profile 145420. That's how I'm known in the system. I'm a number. It's almost like I live in prison. I'm a number. That's it. I'm not an actual person, which again, very discouraging. Like, it's not fair.
Exactly, right? So just, let's, sometimes people say, oh, the case, I'm dealing with this case, or I just think the term case management. Do people really want to be cases? No, we're all humans, right? We'll talk a little bit about this picture. So entering developmental services. So hello, DSO. You know what it's like when people are transitioning in and all of a sudden interfacing into the services. So when you have no family who's there to support you, when you have an intellectual disability, and suddenly, here we go. Do you want to talk a little bit about, because Sarah said, yeah, that picture just about sums it up. You want to talk a little bit about?
Pretty much. I was actually involved with DSO as well too, which is funny that they're actually here today. But they're good. I don't really have anything bad
No, just and you know what? In this room, I think we're all here. We're all okay with being critical and saying we're not putting any. We all know it's the system. It's this big, huge ocean of systems that we're all swimming in. We're not saying anyone's doing a terrible job. We're just saying, yeah, it's a big ocean, and let's all work together to make it a bit more easy to navigate. But right?
Yes. So
but
we use that map too. We use the maze too.
That exact same one.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah.
See? So, we'll just, because you had to meet with multiple agencies.
First it was DSO, and then I got in contact with Christian Horizons, which I'm sorry if anybody is here from Christian Horizons. The program is really not working for you guys at all.
What's that cup of tea for you?
Literally, I met them, and they're like, oh yeah, well we can do all of these wonderful things, and in 9 months from now we're gonna meet again. And I'm like, okay, cool. Awesome. First program I met with, 9 months later, same story. We'll meet in 9 months from now. I literally said, no thank you. And I left. I have nothing to say to you either, right? Like, after that, I met with a program called E3. Again, didn't like them at all whatsoever. It was when I met Community Living. They came in, they actually had a solid plan. They're like, okay, well, if you transition into our program, this is what it looks like, this is what the budget looks like, this is how we help and support you. And, we'll show you a couple places. We have a couple places available in 9 years. They actually came with a plan. I didn't have to sit there and really say much to them. So
that was Dale, right?
Yeah, that was Dale.
Yeah, that was Dale. So Dale McKeno, one of our managers at Community Live in Toronto, has gone out of his way to try and understand the needs of transitioning and youth, especially youth coming from child welfare. And he probably asked you how you wanted things to go, I'm assuming.
Yeah, he asked me, how can they help me be supported in the community and how they can help me just with day-to-day living. And I was actually kind of taken back because that's one of the very first times that I've had somebody ask me that question. So, of course I moved in with them.
It's pretty good. Okay, that's good. Okay, turning 21. Happy birthday. Let's talk about that.
My 21st birthday consisted of me moving into my first place. I didn't really have a choice. I had to go 21. I moved into a bachelor's apartment, and that was probably one of the worst experiences that I had. It definitely felt like 4 walls closing in. There was some support, but not a lot of support. I struggled a lot with, just being able to do day-to-day things. Just because of the factor that I wasn't fully, properly supported to do the transitioning part of it at all whatsoever. So it was very hard for me. I had to move back into the foster care system and stay in foster house for another 2 years, which there I actually, while trying to get into a program, I actually struggled with a bit of addiction actually for those 2 years. I kind of became a little bit of an alcoholic, and even when I came down here, I was still drinking, like a lot of alcohol. Some people are really shocked at the amount that I drank. They think that, I mean, my liver, like they're like, your poor liver. But
you're on the healing track now.
I'm on the healing track now, actually. My last drink was actually in January. I haven't drank since then. It's kind of, it is hard when it comes to it. It is hard when it comes to addiction, especially with, depending on disability sometimes. Like I almost have like a multi-personality addiction disorder kind of idea where I do get addicted to things, and it could be, it'll go.
Do you want to talk a tiny bit about your disability?
Yes, I have fetal alcohol syndrome. I am very quite well aware of how my disability affects me on a day-to-day basis. I know that sometimes it can be communication, it's motor skills, and memory loss as well too. When I'm overstimulated, I actually get very forgetting about things, like, yeah.
Sarah refers to FAS moments. She's like, I'm having an FAS moment.
I'm having an FAS moment, or it's a brain fart. Like, yeah.
So, well, thanks. Okay, thanks. Yeah, you're doing amazing. And Jessica, who's back there, is the one who acted as the bad staff in the videos. You're there supporting Sarah a lot, right? And it's having that consistency is good, right?
Jessica is actually really awesome. She has supported me and has done more for me than really anybody, really. Like, she's really supportive. Like, I really appreciate that I do have the opportunity to actually work with her, like, really.
And having that consistency, right? Having someone who's not saying, I'll call you back in 9 months.
Yeah, no, she's like, okay, tomorrow we're doing this. It's like, yes, let's do it. Let's get it done.
Yeah. That consistency, and actually calling people back. And,
yeah.
So living on your own with agency support, community living in Toronto, there was a place in Toronto, you couldn't take it to foster care, you came in. Okay, and then we can go to the next one, I think. Okay, so now we're gonna just get a glimpse of the transition of your life, right?
Yes.
So we're just gonna do a bunch of photos, so maybe we could just go ahead. You wanna talk a little bit about each photo?
This photo is basically me at an access center for visitations with my parents. I had been going to the same access center for years. It's kind of like a school, literally like an elementary school. Went there for years, actually.
With her little rollerblades, eh?
Yeah.
Love it. And then there's Sarah over here, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is actually my grade 8 grad. The two people that are actually standing beside me, I had lived with them for 5 years. They are literally my forever mom and dad. They are my mom and dad. No one else is going to be my mom and dad. Even my own parents are not my mom and dad. This is my mom and dad here. They are very, very supportive people. I moved in with them when I was 10. And still, even to this day, I still have contact with them. I'm still always talking to them, you know, going out for dinners every now and again. Like, they're a huge part of my life, like, massively.
Look at consistency, how important consistency is, right? Grade 12 graduation.
This
Didn't give
grade
up, right?
12.
Just kept going.
I am actually the first in my family that has graduated grade 12. I have a very huge, massive family. This lady right here to the right of me, this lady is from the Toronto CAS. She has been on my family's caseload since I was 10. Very supportive woman, has done a lot for me, right? The lady that is standing in the middle, she is an amazing lady, I'm gonna have to say. She is an executive director of Keith and Treatment Foster Homes down in the Muscogee Beach area. This lady goes above and beyond her work big time. This lady, if I took off, this lady would be looking for me with the cops, like, always.
And didn't she have to, what was your story? She had to fight down how many cops when you were?
She had, because I struggled as a teen with drugs and stuff. She literally, with 12 cops, knocked down a drug house because that's where I had been hiding out. I wasn't there at the time, but she would knock down drug houses. She didn't care. She was like, where's my kid, right? Like,
And you know what, all this, I hope everybody's kind of taken this away. Sarah, it keeps pointing out the people who were there through thick and thin, right? I hope everyone's taken that away into the work we're all doing every day, right? Just showing up, yeah.
And then this other lady, I really feel bad. I put this lady through hell for 3 years. I have, while living in her house, 43 missing persons reports because I struggled. I didn't want to be at her house. I didn't like her at the time. But like, you know, I feel bad, you know, right now to this day that I put that lady through that, but she's stuck. She stuck with me for 3 years and she put up with that at least. The man on the end, that would be my dad. I'm gonna have to say that I do have a love-hate relationship towards him, but the one thing that I will have to give him out of everything that has ever happened is that he's always been there. Sick as a dog, he'll show up to my visits. Graduations, he's there. Anything really important, he's there. Grade 12 grad. That's Donatello. Watch me. And this guy, this is actually, I actually just adopted this guy. This is Michelangelo. He is a very interesting cat, for sure. Yeah. This is some of my artwork. Well, being struggling in my teen years, I found art was one of my massive escapes. So I would draw a lot just to escape reality and the things that were going on around me because, you know, yeah, it's like one of the best escapes. That and music. Oh, this. I am huge into video games. I love video games. I actually play this one game called Minecraft, and I have been creating Lord of the Rings. I am absolutely obsessed with Lord of the Rings. I love Lord of the Rings. But this is one of the castles in Lord of the Rings that I have been building. Is that Minas Tirith? Minas Tirith. These two people, these are my mom and dad. I don't know if that was in the 70s or the 60s. Yeah, 70s. Yeah. I don't really talk about my mom too much because she wasn't a very huge support in my life. She stopped seeing me at the age of 10. And then when I when I was 16, she had, I had gotten a phone call basically that she had passed away. I really didn't have any feelings towards that at all whatsoever. Later on, I found in my case files that the reason why she stopped seeing me was kind of not nice. She got upset because I was calling Susan in like the photos that you guys saw before mom and dad. So she felt like I was replacing her. So she stopped seeing me just because of that, which unfortunately happens sometimes. Yeah. This is something that I get to look at every day. This definitely defines who I am. Basically, I really don't know which one to read because everything's so powerful.
And we have another slide where we go through 101. Do you want to do that?
Okay.
This is when you walk into Sarah's living room, there's a huge poster that she lives by. That she wanted, Fahima, if you go one at a time, you'll see. So, sorry, you want to?
Don't let anyone hold you back. Take risks and spread love. This life is yours. Message to the world. Let it be extraordinary.
So that's Sarah's presentation. Can you just... Amazing.
All right. We just thought we'd split the room sort of in two. If the folks over on this side of the room, just sort of that side of the projector, can be staff, and this side be family over here. We just want you to take a few moments in your group to discuss with your table what you think could have happened to have better supported Sarah's transition into independent living now that you've had all this great learning that's happened today kind of thing. So we'll just give you some time to discuss that, and then maybe we'll just take up a few suggestions after a little bit, okay? Family, so who's got some great ideas? And Sarah said she'd be willing to sort of give you the thumbs up, or that might have helped or worked or whatever. So, any ideas? So what could have been done differently? Family, staff? Don't be shy. Look, she put her life down on the line, so we can all be brave and put our 2 cents worth in. Sue said we're all learning together kind of thing.
Okay, so I wasn't in a group, but I just think asking Sarah what she wants from her experience, what she kind of envisions for herself in terms of independent living. So asking questions instead of assuming, what a person needs or wants in a transition.
That helps.
That'd be a good idea.
Would have been like to ask some more questions growing up? You would have helped if people asked you questions more growing up?
Oh, yeah, that would be good.
What else?
Minimize the number of foster families.
Yeah, that would be actually really good, actually. Yeah, big time.
I'm not sure why the system is set up like that.
I really honestly don't know either. I've been told a lot of things in the system, either them being true or not, but they were trying to make a change, or if they have or haven't, that they were going to try to have foster kids just be in an independent home that is going to be more of a long-term thing, but I have not yet seen that at all. So, yeah, that's something that really needs to be changed. Big time.
I just wanted to say, going back to asking questions, one of the things you said before too was that people at the beginning, like with some organizations, whoever they were, and it can happen to any organization, that they just come to you and they say, what do you want? It's not just about asking questions, it's about having a conversation, right? Yes. Because, often I'll ask my clients questions, and it's hard for them to give me an answer because they may not have a frame of reference. And so I have to create a scenario where we can have a conversation where they have the opportunity to tell me what they like without me just asking direct questions, Because it's kind of artificial too, it's like, a checklist. So I think that's part of the work that we have to explain to people that don't work with people who have developmental disabilities. It's not just straightforward. You have to understand the style of communication and how hard it is sometimes for people just to answer things that we might think of as just easy,
Yeah, I think part of the reason for that is that a lot of people that are living in the foster care system hear a lot of you can't, or this is how it's going to go, and you eventually just get to that point of, okay, well then you make the decision for me. And depending on how long you're actually in for the system, that happened with me for sure. I lived in the system for a very long time that I was just like, oh, okay, cool. We'll do that. Okay, awesome. Not really so much my decisions at all whatsoever. So, while talking to individuals, you might have to, sometimes you kind of have to deal with that, sometimes with some of them, at least. Yeah.
So aside from asking questions, we were also talking about having you actively engaged in those really critical meetings We're not sure if that had happened or if you were even allowed to be part of those, but we think that having your voice at the table would have been something that, from like you're the staff side, that would have been really crucial to where we would go with your care. Also being transparent, because you said that you would often get your worker come to your school and you would be put at a new home, and there was that misunderstanding of why would that happen and how would you internalize that and what's the larger impact of that, how that happens to you throughout the course of your life. Also, we were talking about language, so that was very important in your case files of how the workers wrote about you, wrote about your family, and the impact not only on you, but how other providers read that and then automatically assume those labels to you. And had they worded something slightly differently than what changes would have that had been made to your care and what services could you may have access that weren't necessarily provided to you. And then stability, because you were going through so many different people. Did you have a stable case manager? And we would look at that. Often caseloads change and we're always looking for different people. So it was like maybe making sure that there would be more constant people, like 1 or 2 people if that's possible, and how those processes through really affect your experience and how we as staff can actually change that for you.
It's very hard when you have workers, foster parents, one-to-one workers, maybe a different agency that you may be living in as well too. When you have so many different people talking about the same thing, but you're totally getting different messages from everybody else, that is very hard. Eventually, people just become numb with the information. Like even me, myself, when I was being told all these different things from all these different people, I'm just like, in one ear and out the other. I didn't want to listen to it. It's a little bit too overstimulating sometimes. Even with the transitioning or somebody coming and just taking me, you become numb after a while as well too. You're just like when I got picked up from a school one time, they're like, oh, well, pack up your locker. And I'm like, why? Oh, you're going to a new place. Oh, okay. It's just another day to me, right? So they should be changing how they approach things, or at least giving people fair warning, because I may have had friends at that point in time. I've lost a ridiculous amount of friends while transitioning, and that's not cool, because it basically affects my communications with other people in the world. It really sucks. I only have one friend that I kept in contact with from elementary school, but the amount of times that I moved in that period of time, I still was able to talk to her, but can't really maintain a friendship, right? So you're always constantly making new friends and meeting new people and stuff. It kind of sucks. It really does. You eventually, some people, they eventually I don't really want any friends. I'm kind of at that point now where I'm living here in the city. I don't want to make any friends, because it's just the factor that I still live in that brain mentality of I'm going to move. I'm going to be going somewhere else, right? So it's a struggle. It really is. So, yeah.
Can you see why we were hoping Children's Aid was going to be in the room today?
And the whole human rights piece too. That's why I love the self-advocates in our field, because nothing about me without me. That starts. It needs to start earlier as well. Kind of thing. So how about those family kind of? Probably got the hard group. Anything family could have done differently, or maybe as staff supporting families that could have made life easier.
Maybe finding somebody. You said you had a large family, so even finding one person in your family that you could have connected with and to keep sort of as a constant for you and grounded might have helped. Just see you through all these difficult transitions. There's always one person, hopefully, for everyone to do that.
Not always. I've seen situations where there's, we can talk, but not always. Sometimes, but consistency. This is hard for you guys, being put in the family position when family wasn't really directly engaged. So it's very, very tricky. But I think consistency. Do you want to speak? Do you want to respond to it? And then Jen's got one.
family necessarily being engaged like with helping and stuff like that, the workers don't always necessarily let the families know exactly what is going on with their children. And that is a huge thing. There's some times that I've told my father some things that were going on and he's like, whoa. Like, he wanted to do something, but he didn't have the right to do anything because I was Crown Ward until I was 18. So he had no right to do anything. I was basically government, right? But if my dad did have the opportunity, he would have tried to help. But sometimes you get born into a family that they can't help themselves. So it's very unfortunate. Even with, I have a large family. I don't know half of them at all whatsoever. I really don't. They had nothing to do with my father just because of what happened to me and my family, big time. So it's a little hard sometimes, right?
And hopefully it helps us tweak our sensitivity to the concept of family, right? Because family often is a painful piece to think about, right? So I love, I know Peter Park, who's going to be speaking here on March 11th, he's got a lot of bones to pick with the term family, right? Just in the way we address it as a system. It's always being conscious when you talk with someone, who's important in your life, right? Might not even be biological. Who's important? Like you said, those two people, they were there. You said they're like my mom and dad. They are my mom and dad, right?
Yep.
Yeah. So.
I was just going to say exactly what you said around what our definition of family is and how we really need to expand that.
Yeah.
I think, Sue, when you were talking about...
I think James wanted to...
sorry. Yes. Oh, yeah, absolutely. James had such great things to say.
Okay. Yeah. I think when we think about the definition of family, it's very, very broad. And I don't know if it's through, education, parenting classes, if you've got parents who maybe are ill-equipped to take care of their children. I think that's maybe where you could bring in foster parents with the, bring in the foster parents with the biological parents together to talk about some of those issues. And because you see what happens is the children and youth end up getting transitioned, and I think also what that would enable then is that foster families would have a better idea of where that young person is coming from. And because CAS doesn't take that on, they're clearly not imparting that information or sharing that information.
Yeah, I was just going to say too, when you were talking about vilifying parents too, like it really hurt me when I heard about your mom. You know, like where was the person supporting your mom that could have maybe put that connection together? So I think what you were saying was really true. I think there's a lot, and I know that group didn't say it out loud, but I'm a person-directed planner, so I'm always thinking of because you were asking about planning too, like, who are the important people in your life and how do you keep them together? Like all those friends that have gone by the wayside, that didn't have to happen if people planned and found a way to, like you're so busy, as you say, moving and stuff like that, people forget the important things in life that you need to carry through, and planning can sometimes keep those in people's mind and think about who's important. We say relationships are the most important things in life, and if we don't plan to keep them, when you're going from one home to another, you're going to lose all those people. And as we started out at the beginning of our session today, those are the things that get taken away that shouldn't, and you need them even more. So it's amazing that you've gotten this far with all the things that happened to you, and I just want to thank you. I think on behalf of all of us for,